Okay, in order to expand your narratives a little bit, you need to think about the concept of writing in slow motion. And I just want you to think about that concept, slow motion. And the best way to imagine it is to think about the Summer Olympics, actually. And I want you to think about the 100-meter dash. I want you to think about watching that event in real time, the men's 100-meter dash. It is over in 4 to 6 seconds. And when you're watching that in real time, those men cross the finish line like that. It's instantaneous. And then they show it in replay because it's so close that they have to watch the replay to figure out who won. So when they stop that race and they show the fans the finish line in slow motion, I want you to think about the way those runners look in slow motion. You can see every movement of their arms. You can see the way their leg muscles are moving up and down. You can see the muscles in their face moving up and down. You can see the sweat forming on their face. You can see their jersey rippling. You can see their bodies leaning forward across the finish line. You can see, like their defined muscles in every part of their chest. You can see them breathing. So just have that visualization in your mind, slow motion. It's when you are thinking about writing in such a way that you're capturing every little nuanced detail. Okay? Think about this. Like this is another sort of a maybe even morbid or tragic way to think about it. Let's say that you're watching a dog cross the street and all of a sudden like a car comes out of nowhere and you hear the owner yell and the dog stops and turns around. Well, all of that stuff happens instantaneously as you're watching it in real time. But if you're writing about it, you have to slow down. You have to take one little item at a time and you have to describe the action that's going on. You have to describe the way the dog was crossing the street. You have to describe the sound of the owner's voice. Okay? So you have to capture every single subtle, nuanced detail when you're writing in slow motion. And I want you to try this in your writing. There's a chapter in your True Stories book called The Nursing Home. It was in one of the revision stations. And I'm going to just read the first 3 paragraphs, and I want you to listen to her attention to detail. And I want you to listen to how she's focusing on capturing all of the senses, okay? At least 3 of the 5, maybe more. So this is how she writes. My father pulled open the heavy glass door of the nursing home. Each Saturday he came to visit my grandmother. The time had come for me to see her. The air was stale and warm. He guided me with his hand on the back of my neck into the black tiled hall. I was 10, and ever since I could remember, I hated how he led me around by my neck. The hall was wide and long. Light came through the windows, but didn't reflect off the dirty floor. A flickering overhead light stretched down the center of the ceiling. It reminded me of a school corridor with rows of windows on either side. Some windows were open, some were shut. The shades were pulled halfway and were stained with large brown rings. Old women lined both sides of the walls. They slumped in their wheelchairs or sat in chestnut rocking chairs. A silent television rolled its picture in a corner. One old woman stretched from her wheelchair and stroked the screen with bent fingers. They smelled of urine and soiled clothing. So I'm going to go back through. I want you to listen to all the senses that she captures, okay? She even talks about the way things felt on her skin. The air was stale and warm. You can feel that on your skin. The word stale is a scent word, so you can smell the air. She says, I hated how he led me around by the neck. You can feel that on the back of your neck. You know what that feels like. The hall was wide and long. Light came through the windows. We can see all of that. She says it reminded me of a school corridor with rows of windows on either side. You know what that looks like. So it's a visual. So she's using sight detail. So already in 6 sentences, she's used smell, what it feels like on your skin, and sight. Later on, in a few more paragraphs, she talks about the silent television. That's noise again, okay? Silence is a noise. It's a kind of sound. So she's used 4 of the senses. They smelled of urine and soiled clothing. She's back to scent. The only sense she doesn't have in the first 10 sentences of this is taste, okay? So I want you to try that in your writing tomorrow. I want you to find a spot in your narrative, and I want you to see if in 10 sentences you can use 4 out of 5 senses, okay? We're going to practice this. We're going to try this activity on page 113 in your True Stories book tomorrow. So bring your True Stories book with you. And I'd like for you to post a comment on this video of an image from the nursing home that you feel is a really good sensory detail. Okay, so it's kind of a read back line that you consider to be a really effective sensory detail.